Okay, in our next interview with Ask an Archer, we're very happy to have Huthaifa Hassen from South Africa. He runs a company called Home of Archery. He's a bowyer as well, archer. He's doing a lot of good stuff down there in South Africa. So Huthaifa, thank you for taking the time out to speak with me. How are you today?
جزاك الله خير for the call. Alhamdulillah, I'm doing excellent.
Alhamdulillah, good stuff. Okay, Huthaifa, just a quick intro for those that may haven't come across you online or your company. Just tell us a little bit about how you firstly got into archery and your current situation with your club, your teaching and your bow making as well.
Right. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The first thing is how I got into archery on its own. I've always had a passion for old school sword fighting, horse riding, archery, and so on. So while I was still studying to become an archer, we became across an entire section only on warfare in specific. Example, your horse riding, archery, sword fighting, and so on. I've had this amazing desire that I would really love to shoot a bow. I've never been a fan of guns. It was always just more old school horse shooting. Horse riding and shooting a bow. So in the process, I wanted to purchase a bow, and unfortunately, at that time I was still studying. I didn't have any sort of income, so I decided, okay, let me build a bow. And YouTube and Google, they were basically the first instructors I had on how to shoot a bow and how to build a bow.
Right, should be fine. Okay, yeah. So you followed Ustad Google and YouTube.
So then I built myself a self bow. It must have took me like 2 months, but slowly carving off wood, I managed to actually build a bow.
How long ago was this? What year is this now?
Of the day, this was 2013, I would say, 2014.
Okay, right.
And in the process, I would say I had zero support at all. Every single person who saw me making a bow, they actually made fun of me. Even my own father also used to shove me, saying I'm wasting time. And after 2 months of hard work, I finally, alhamdulillah, built a bow. And it came out to around 40 pounds.
Very good.
And that was officially the first bow I've ever built. From there, after completing the studies, and I decided I would like to build a few more of it, because I think at the time I could only afford one arrow. So I had a bow. I had a bow with one arrow. If you break, I would have then buy another arrow. So it was like so, to the extreme of it. And alhamdulillah, we built another bow, also a self bow. But on my third bow, I've reached a stage where every single bow after the day we used to just snap in half. I think those were like the most traumatizing times ever. Is that you make hard effort and you decide to pull in and it's snaps in half.
I'm actually surprised that your first 2 bows didn't break. Normally, the first, third, 10 attempts they break, but your first one came out good.
I don't have an answer for that. How come? But all I can say, that first bow I managed to sell it, just to prove to the family that it can be a business.
Right.
And I sold slowly in 2015, I think so. But sadly, till today, if I give the buyer a call, I tell him I'll value my most expensive bow. If you can just return that bow, because it's the first one I've ever built.
Right.
And unfortunately, he refused.
Wow.
Till now, he's refusing it.
MashaAllah.
So
antique.
that's basically, Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore, so it's a big loss now.
Yeah.
Um, from there, I decided that I would like to now learn how to shoot and learn how to bow, learn how to build a bow correctly. So the first process came where I sold, I think so, 13 of the self bows around South Africa. From there, I went to the vet of Cupid bows, and he gave me a basic course on how to construct the bow.
Uh-huh.
And that was basically the journey of my learning of how to build a bow. And from there, once I started advertising about bows, so then I've had a lot of interest in people saying that they would like us to teach them actually how to shoot a bow.
Mm.
So I was extremely fortunate in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, 2016 or early 2017. Um, Myself and my sister, we've done a course by um, a person known as Dr. Titmar Docher and his wife Karen. They are currently from Austria, and they came over to South Africa for an hunt. And
Uh-huh.
he runs an archery shooting school. If I'm not mistaken, he explained us that he is 2 times European champions, 5 times world champion, and his wife 10 years in a row. She was a woman's best archer of the world. So
Wow.
alhamdulillah, we've had the opportunity to do our entire basics, our advanced, the entire course that we offer today. We've had the opportunity to do it at him directly from him.
Mm.
So after people requested that we start up actually and we start teaching. So alhamdulillah, we started teaching from home in the backyard where we must have had like 2 or 3 students at the time. And from there, that's how we came up with the name Home of Archery.
Okay.
Because it was done at home in the backyard. And alhamdulillah, 2016, we had the opportunity to open up our club. From home, we grew from having 10 students to 15, 20, 25, 30.
Mm.
Then obviously we had to now leave home and start up something a lot more professional.
Right.
So alhamdulillah, currently we have a full archery range in the Johannesburg South, and currently we have approximately 70 to 80 shooters on a Saturday
MashaAllah. That's
weekly.
amazing.
We've opened up a branch in the Eastern section also. So currently we have 2 branches. The Eastern section has approximately 28 shooters. What's running archery school? We've had the opportunity to now start teaching traditional archery to a few of the Islamic schools also. So like Hassen Muslim Academy, the Turkish school, and a few other schools around Johannesburg. So currently, Home of Archery starts with approximately 130 archers who attend archery lessons and shoots at least once a week.
MashaAllah. That's excellent. How big is your team? How many coaches do you have? Because I can't imagine it's just yourself. You must have other people helping you out who are teaching and coaching.
On the Eastern section, there we have 2 instructors that handle the Eastern section.
Yeah.
Basically, how we run it is we allow not more than 10 students a session.
Uh-huh.
So 10 students is a lot more control out, and it does make things a lot easier. At the main branch here, we have approximately 15 students as maximum.
Yeah.
We are 4 male instructors, and we have 3 female instructors also.
Excellent.
So all 8 instructors are there present. Most of them are there at the time. So we just rotate our shifts. but mostly it's 5 instructors at a time. They teaching.
Excellent. How divided is, not divided, but how much is how many of the students are like male and female? Because you mentioned you have female instructors, which, you know, especially in the Muslim community, this is number one, very difficult to find, to get qualified women to do it. Not necessarily their fault, but because they don't always have access to courses, or it's just difficult for them to get on courses. So, you know, you've done very well there. Has there been more interest on the women's side than the men's side, or is it about the same, or what's it like?
Unfortunately, it's extremely scary situation for South Africa, where in the traditional archery in our club in specific, you can say 80% women dominant.
Wow, wow.
And it's so sad that if you have to say for a person from the age of 15, let's say from the age of 18 upwards for a male, we have a handful. I can literally count them on my hands.
Wow.
I would say 7 or 8 males, but dominantly females.
Yeah, you know, this is not something new. You know, in the UK, where I helped to establish, or I helped to, you know, I was teaching different communities in and around London, outside of London. You know, more often than not, the women, the females would have a lot more interest first. You know, they would sign up first, they would get their classes running first, and then the men would kind of wake up a little bit later and realize, hey, you know, these women are starting to do archery, we can do it as well. You know, whether it's because they are still fixed on their other sports or something, I don't know, but you know, full credit to the women for actually you know, getting up and kind of taking the initiative and really showing that obviously archery is a sport for male and female, able-bodied, disabled-bodied, everyone. So I think, you know, what you said is sad for on the men's side that there's so few, but very good that there's so many female archers. And I'm sure that your club is open to all backgrounds, faith, races, etc. But the majority is probably Muslim women, or is it mixed?
Yes. In the beginning, it was only the Muslims only. But alhamdulillah, through 2020, we have a lot of interest now from the non-Muslims also. So, because if I'm not mistaken, I would say, the biggest traditional archery school in South Africa currently, and we open up from the age of 6 years old. So we start teaching archery for kids from the age of 6, where a lot of archery schools don't actually have it. And alhamdulillah, we've been attracting quite a bit of the non-Muslims also. They enroll their kids and themselves. So I would say we would have like at least around 10 current non-Muslims in the club that takes on to the sport. All the other clubs, even if it's the compound shooting clubs in South Africa, dominant is, you can say, over 40 years old. Our club is the only ones in SA that actually has like the youth are like involved in shooting. So like from the age of 13, 14, we have quite a bit of them. So any competition we attend around South Africa, we the only youth. Everybody is just old.
Wow.
So that is something that South Africa is quite a bit slower on.
Yeah.
So like
this, you know, looking at that demographic, it represents how healthy an archery community is. If you look at how many young people are involved, if everyone is over 40, you know, in the next 15, 20 years, they're going to be out of the sport. And if there are not enough new people coming in, then that's not a very healthy, you know, demographic. So it's very important that you do push the young bloods through the competitions and through the clubs and things like that. You mentioned also about schools. You're focusing on Muslim schools. What about like just government schools or private schools? Have you approached them as well?
We have, but unfortunately, archery is new to South Africa. In South Africa, the most common archery in schools is the NASP, and the NASP have taken over almost all the schools. So because of that, they haven't given so much acceptance to traditional archery.
Right.
We are also qualified NASP instructors also, but unfortunately, I don't have that desire to teach it. I just prefer mostly the traditional section.
Sure.
And what we have
just define for us what does NASP mean? NASP.
NASP is basically a compound.
What does it stand for? It's a National Archery Schools Project or something like that, no?
So it's basically focused only on schools only.
Right.
So they don't have clubs and competitions elsewhere. This is only for schools only. And if I'm not mistaken, they start from 10 years old and they go up to matric. The only sad part of it, the bows don't go over 20 pounds.
Okay. So it's limited.
So no matter how old, even if you are an instructor, you shoot 20 pounds and that's it.
Really? Right. Okay.
So for development of strength and the ability for a child, I find that is something that they don't develop at all. So that is, I think that's the main reason why I push more into the traditional sections.
Right. Okay. Let's move on to the bow making now that you talked about. Obviously, this is your main passion. You mainly focus on traditional bows. What type of bow? I mean, we can see in the background. Is it mainly self bows and recurve bows, like hunting bows, or do you also try like horse bows and different type of bows?
All right, so for me, the passion for me is longbow. Yeah. I understand longbows to be the ultimate, and I prefer it the most. And because the bow making now has from a hobby, the bows have now turned into a business where the people of South Africa have chosen longbows a lot more over horse and recurves.
Right.
So dominantly, I am building now currently a lot of long bows.
Yeah.
I don't build self bows anymore because the demand obviously is more on the laminated long bows.
Right.
So the best seller I would say currently is the long bows. Now and then I do build. I have two designs of my recurves.
Yeah.
So I do then also build up a few recurves, and then we build quite a bit of bows for kids, for children. So that is a mixture of a hybrid and a recurve, around 56 to 48 inches long. And that has been quite amazing for the kids. We are now currently busy on a project where we are building horse bows also. The demand has now started coming in and they require horse bows.
Right.
So I am now developing a design, something similar to the Turkish style, to target more of those who are looking for something that's under 50 inches long. And then on the other hand, we are also busy developing a horse bow that's going to be approximately 56 inches. It will now target the people who are interested, who have a bit of a bigger draw and so on.
Excellent. We're just going through some of your images on the Instagram, and mashallah, the bows are stunning, beautiful. Just tell us about some of the different woods that you use, where you source them from, and also what are the challenges that you've experienced in your journey of making longbows?
Okay, so the first thing I would say, building a recurve is a lot more harder than building a long bow.
Yeah.
The long bow, the picture that you have now currently, it is that's not now my final design is known as the Inter Champion.
Right.
I've had 5 designs where I've been improving on,
Right.
and Alhamdulillah, the customers now they are extremely happy with the current
Right.
design we have.
Very good.
Let us first talk about the woods.
Yes.
Building our bows, I use only exotics. So you move from Wangi to Zabrano to Bakoti, Ebony, Kingswood, you know, all of those really exotics.
Lovely.
And we prefer them only over over all the other types, mainly because those woods are heavy. They're extremely heavy and extremely hard. So we do source them. There is one local shop that's extremely close to our area.
Yeah.
And he goes around Africa and he looks for the most exotics of all woods.
Right.
And then we purchase them from him, and we buy them in slabs. Our biggest supplier of woods currently is now Woods in Cape Town. They import all of their exotics from America, from Brazil.
Right.
So a lot of our woods are mainly brought in from overseas also. I do try and come in with certain veneers or woods from the US, but mainly our source is from around South Africa here.
So you said you prefer the hardwoods, the heavy woods. Is this because they are better to work with and more stable? Once you finish the bow, being it heavier, it's more stable in the hand?
Okay, with regards to the harder sections of the woods, the main reason is the fade outs of the handle. The section where the entire handle meets up to the limb.
Yes.
If you do not have a hard enough wood there, then you are going to get issues where it does sometimes snap off. So for security of a bow to be over 40 pounds, I only use hardwood.
Right.
And all right, then we have developed a design called our Inter Champion. That's the current bows you are looking at. For the Inter Champion, we using a material, a composite material called G10. So G10 is always at the bottom of our bows that goes into the fade outs. That helps for the strength of it, and also it gives it an extreme amount of weight. Right. So the bow becomes extremely stable in your hands when shooting it.
Yeah. MashaAllah, the design on them is beautiful. And I mean, the one we're looking at, it's like 3 layers of wood there. Is that correct? And then
yes,
you've got the backing.
3 layers, if I'm not mistaken, is G10, Australian black wood, and Indian rose wood.
Yeah.
And then we have some inlays just to spice it up quite a bit.
Yeah. What about making strings? Where did you learn that, and how did you learn that?
Okay, I don't make strings on my own. I've given a job to string making to my sister.
Okay.
She's a person who's extremely neat.
Okay.
So basically, I have quite a bit. I have taught her how to make it, but unfortunately, till now I haven't built a single string by hand.
Okay. Well, that's understandable. You've got a lot on your plate anyway, but it's good to delegate delegate jobs out, you know.
And I'm extremely amazed on the strings and the quality she produces. Because Alhamdulillah, we provide strings for almost all the shooters in SA. We supply them with their strings and whatever else is it that they require.
Excellent. And I guess
Our strings are so.
sorry, I was
Okay.
just going to say, I guess, you know, your sister makes the strings. It's not just for your own bows. You can also sell them to other traditional shooters, right? Other longbows.
Mm-hmm. Correct. She does supply basically to all the other shooters around South Africa.
Excellent, excellent, mashallah. You know, your Instagram page is mashallah very active. You've been holding a lot of events. You know, it shows that you've got a lot of youth there shooting, which is very good. Tell us about this this two-piece bow here.
The two-piece bow, it is a sleeve system. I would say one of the hardest takedown bows to design.
I can
So
imagine.
basically, you have entire bow as is, and you take the bow on a bandsaw and you snap him down in half. Then we use a certain type of resin. I would say the first time I've ever built those type of bows as so then we use a resin and we use fiberglass material and carbon material. After some alignment of the entire handle, then we wrap it in that resin or that fiberglass material. After 2 days of getting it to dry out, and the bow has an anti-release agent in it, and then you are able to split them apart. The inter-champion takedown system, it isn't a great seller because it's quite expensive. But alhamdulillah, people do prefer them quite a bit. If the bow is hung up, you will never notice or say it is an actual two-piece type of a bow.
Yeah, of course. Is it fairly easy? Will it just, you know, when you unstring it, it will just slide in and out quite easily now when you finish it?
It does have a bit of a tight grip to it, so it is going to take a bit of strength to pull it apart. This type of a bow I was taught by Big Jim in America, and then he guided me through building this bow step by step.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, he even released a video on how to build it also then.
Yeah. I was seeing this video the other day. It's a lovely video where you're putting the sander sealer on and the color just comes out of the wood. And many people seem to think that the bow, when it's being made, it looks all shiny, but that's not the case. But here we can see you're applying the sander sealer, and mashallah, it just brings it to life, doesn't it?
That's the main section I look at whenever building a bow. It's like I'm still so anxious. I'm extremely anxious to like take off the tape and see how it comes out.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing that you just take any design of a customer. They choose their woods, they choose their design, and after constructing it, only then so like amazed as how amazing these designs do come out there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Tell us a little bit about some of the you have a number of champion archers who are linked with your club and who use your bows. I think this guy is one of them. Henk, yeah?
Yes, Hank, the first traditional bow Hank had was a recurve. And alhamdulillah, he's met us, and his first bow from me was a long bow. He's semi-hybrid, yes, that one in specific.
Right.
Hank has purchased from us, if I'm not mistaken, is his 8th bow that he has
Wow.
from us.
MashaAllah.
And he shoots only our bows and only our arrows.
Excellent.
In 2018, Hank took part in the World Championships. He received his bow 2 days before the championships, and he had basically just 2 days to practice. And alhamdulillah, he positioned 7th in the world.
Amazing.
After that, he went on. Hank has broken 6 South African records with our bow,
Yeah.
and 2 of the international records. And now, alhamdulillah, he has purchased from us another bow. If it is there on our page, he will be now shooting with it at the 2021 Estonia World Championships. Besides Hank, we do have a few others from Spain, from here around South Africa, from Namibia.
Yeah.
They all of them shoot our long bows. On the traditional section amongst the youth, amongst our youth, we have a girl by the name of Huthaifa. So Huthaifa shoots also our inter-champion long bows, and she currently holds the record of the youth in South Africa, where at the main competition the record was 214.
Right.
Yes, it is her. And she scored a score of 386.
Subhanallah. She smashed
so
it.
she now stands, and you won't be believe it. She's only 13 years old, and she shoots a 36-pound long bow.
Wow.
And she's the best shooter in our archery club currently.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. So there's a lot of good potential and good promise there, MashaAllah. It's good. And she I guess also she's a good role model, not just for the youth but for the girls as well.
For sure. Like even if the boys have to come and shoot against Telecots, I give up already.
MashaAllah, that's very good. So she's kind of, that's her kind of full-time hobby at the moment. She's probably shooting every spare moment that she can.
Yes. What I understand the most out of it is the parents. If the parents are involved,
right,
in the sport, or if they pay attention to it,
yes,
that's the only time the kids evolve.
MashaAllah.
And unfortunately, I have seen it so many times. A person purchases a bow, and the parents don't give much attention. And after a month, 2 months, they lose interest.
Yeah.
I have one of our students also from one of the schools. She started archery only because her friend was doing it. And because the parents used to take her to every single competition and every single event that we've ever hosted. Now, alhamdulillah, she shoots amongst the top shooters, and she even has her provincial colors also.
MashaAllah.
So it's extremely important for the parents to take some sort of interest into the sport that the kids are involved in also.
100%, MashaAllah. So these are just some images of the, I think this is the range that you have, the practice range. So you have at least, I don't know, 10, 13 targets up there?
The range has a space of at least 50 to 60 meters wide. Wow. So you can fill up how much ever targets you require. We have a space of 200 to 300 meters in length.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah, the range is excellent. Only you display the pictures in winter. So everything is like it's hard out.
Don't worry, for England it looks like summer for us, so don't worry. But
So what's the most amazing thing of the shooting range? You will see it in some of the pictures. Is that 2 meters away from where you shooting, there's a river uh, flowing
I can see that,
by.
mashallah, beautiful.
So
Yeah,
in summer, it's a really amazing place to spend the day at.
lovely. Is this all on your own land where you live, or is this at the range that you have, or is it the
This
same place?
is this here in specific is the range I have
Okay,
uh,
mashallah, beautiful
currently.
place.
If you go further down, you should see the old shooting at home and so on.
Yeah, yeah, mashallah. Tell us a little bit about arrow making. Obviously, if you're making bows, then I guess arrow making comes next, you know. How did you get into that, and where did you learn kind of your techniques or knowledge about arrow making?
Okay, for the basics of building arrows, mainly we have built obviously and supplied uh, carbon arrows.
Mm-hmm.
But as the demand and the passion I had to make wooden arrows, I will say it again, but YouTube was the official instructor again.
Mashallah.
But alhamdulillah, we've had the opportunity to learn from a master arrow maker in South Africa, Marnus. He's based in Cape Town, and unfortunately, because of his age, he has stopped making. So alhamdulillah, he has shared with me whatever knowledge he had, and alhamdulillah, from there, that's how the journey to making wooden arrows.
Mashallah.
We stock up and we build up bamboo arrows, and the main seller is the pot of cedar arrows.
Yeah, yeah.
So those are the ones that we currently build up.
Excellent.
Arrows, I would say arrows is 10 times harder than making a bow. Arrow making is just, it's time consuming to straighten a shaft and get it perfect to fly excellent and accurately.
Yes.
It is something that's extremely hard.
Well, that's the thing. It's you know, when archery, there's some people say it's three components. It's the bow, it's the arrow, and the archer. So everything has to be tuned together. You could have a really fantastic bow, well made, words, etc. But if you don't have the right shaft, the right spine, if it's not tuned properly, it's not going to work. And if they do have
100%.
a good relationship, arrow and bow relationship, then you need to have the right archer to fit that, you know, that make that triangle complete, you know.
100%. What I have seen in the traditional archery section is that unfortunately there wasn't a correct method of shooting being taught in South Africa. So for all those people who have been doing archery, unfortunately they had to actually come here, learn how to shoot, and then carry on again. So to have a good instructor also, and a good method of shooting, that also is something that I've found that is extremely important in the journey of an archer also.
For sure. Masha, you also have some very well-known sponsors. Tell us about who you're sponsored by and the company links you have.
All right. So firstly, the main company that we are a dealer for here in South Africa is a company that is started by Henry Bodnik. Henry Bodnik is also one of my instructors also. But obviously, has now just more through social media. He has taught me quite a bit. So we are a dealer for Beppo, Germany, here in South Africa. So alhamdulillah, all the boys, the bow makers in SA, we supply them with all the components that is required to build a bow.
Excellent.
And Beppo is the people who supply us And alhamdulillah, from all of the accessories, the arrows, their covers, their arm guards,
Yeah.
their bows, basically almost all of the items that they stock, alhamdulillah, we are the suppliers of it here in South Africa. So in 2018, Beppo has agreed to become our sponsors, and every main event, every main competition, every prize that is to be won,
Yeah.
sponsored directly from Henry Bodnik.
Wow. Okay.
So if I remember correctly, in the archery in the competition that I hosted in 2019, they must have sponsored us equipment worth at least 15,000 rands.
Wow.
They have even sponsored a bow specifically for the best archer or the person who has progressed the most. So alhamdulillah, they are our biggest sponsor. Then our second sponsor is Carbon Core Arrows. Carbon Core Arrows are currently the largest suppliers of carbon arrows in South Africa. They supply from normal traditional arrows, arrows for compound, arrows that are specifically designed for hunting. So Carbon Core, alhamdulillah, we stock their carbon arrows only, and we supply their carbon arrows around South Africa. And alhamdulillah, every competition that we host, they are also part of those who sponsor towards the prize given. And then our third sponsor comes Iceberg. Iceberg doesn't have anything related to archery on its own. But the history behind it is that the father himself is one of our biggest shooters. The father, he has introduced archery to all of his children, and from there, when his daughter is that girl currently we spoke about.
Yeah.
Him and his wife and all of his children, every single one of them are involved in archery at us. They shoot every single competition, and alhamdulillah, they have this thirst and there's the desire. So he has also became our sponsor. He sponsors certain things at our competitions. He even sponsors our bags, the bow bags that we supply our bows in. All of that comes from Iceberg also.
Excellent, mashallah. I'm just going to take people to the website. So if people want to check him out, homeofarchery.co.za. Very clear, simple website. All the information is there. Contact information. All the links are there, mashallah. Huthaifa, also, I wanted to ask about just a couple of things before we maybe wrap it up. You know, I like to ask all the bowyers and archers, you know, what kind of inspired them to get into archery? For everyone, they have a different reason. For some people, it's just, you know, they read about history, or it's just a hobby, it's a sport. For some people, it's more serious, it's a discipline, it's religious, etc. So for yourself, you know, what is the kind of driving passion behind getting involved in archery and bow making as well?
All right, so for me, the only thing that inspired me to do archery on his own was the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you know that famous story of Salama bin Aqwa and how much speed he had and how he had the ability to shoot so many arrows at the enemy, to them understanding it to be like a few archers shooting at them. That was the main hadith that drove me to actually learn how to shoot the bow. And it was something that I found it was something that I really would love to learn how to do Uh, so the thing that studying and learning and reading up on the way the Sahaba, the way Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to then shoot a bow.
Yeah.
For me, that was the main thing that drove me into archery, in specific.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. May Allah reward you for that intention, inshallah. You're doing a lot of good work there, MashaAllah.
I mean.
Okay, maybe somewhat of a controversial topic, but I'll ask it anyway. And, you know, everyone has their own experience. But, you know, archery in South Africa, and especially for, let's say, a minority group, how difficult is it to kind of make your, you know, make your own way there and make your own stamp and leave a mark? You know, what obstacles have you found in trying to get to where you are now? Because, you know, you run a very successful club, a lot of active members, champions in there. And, you know, I'm sure when you guys turn up to competitions, people don't expect you guys to be turning up.
The first ever competition we've ever attended was the Elgro Marathon. Basically, you can say archery in South Africa is a dominant sport by the whites. They are the ones in charge of it. They handle Sana, ABO, Elgro. All of it is hosted and run by the whites. When we attended Elgro, it was the first time they've ever seen an Indian, a Muslim Indian holding a bow. And they were so amazed, and part of the beauty of it is they actually appreciated it. They said, we're so happy that you're like actually finally joining us now. And my sister, she's in niqab, so when she actually pulled her bow, they were like just like it was like everybody just looks at them.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it's extremely hard. You always feel out of place. You always feel extremely difficult to be there, to be shooting. But alhamdulillah, slowly, we have made an impact. Today, the champions of the youth comes from us. Most of the achievements is there by us. Records are held also, alhamdulillah, in the ABO and in the Huthaifa section of archery in South Africa. We are basically the most common traditional archers to be there. So unfortunately, in the white community, there's a handful of traditional archers only. So majority of the archers is us. We go there, take over the competitions. So in the beginning, it is hard, but alhamdulillah, as you go along, I would say the hardest thing is the comments you get from the compound shooters. The way they try to belittle traditional archery, the way they look down upon it. And then the answer I have is, shoot our bow and let's see. And they say, no, that's old school, that isn't fast. No?
Right.
But it's now been 2 years, no, a year that we have been into. They are accepting us, and they are letting us to forward in the sport also.
MashaAllah. Yeah, I think, you know, in any new ground that has to be broken, whoever is breaking that ground, those pioneers, they're going to find it harder. They're going to make it easy for the people coming after them. So you guys are definitely at the forefront of that and breaking those barriers down. And I think, you know, the fact that you guys are holding records, that should speak for itself, regardless of what the person looks like or what they're wearing, etc. I think ultimately, true archers will respect the score. You know, they say the arrows never lie. So, you know, it doesn't matter who shot those arrows. You know, if they won, they won, and you have to respect the skill of that person and shooting those type of bows. So, you know, mashallah, you guys are doing very well. May Allah, you know, increase you guys in that as well, inshallah.
Ameen.
Okay, just a couple of questions just to wrap up, inshallah. I'm sensitive of the time, and I know you've got a lot of stuff to do, inshallah. These are some questions that I ask most of the people that we have the interview with, and we like to get different feedback. So, do you prefer laminate or composite bow?
In the section of speed, I would prefer laminated bow.
Yeah.
There isn't much composite bows around. With regards to the quality, to the strength, I would say laminated bow is far more superior to a composite bow or a stealth bow in specific.
Yeah.
With regards to accuracy, obviously everybody say it is the archer in himself.
Right.
But a extremely well built laminated bow does have the ability to shoot a lot more accurate than a composite or a stealth bow in specific. That's just my personal
Sure.
findings of it so far.
Of course. Okay, what about wooden or carbon arrows? What do you prefer?
I shoot longbow only. So the type of shooting I'm doing, I shoot only wooden arrows. I would say durability, carbons are a lot more durable. The bamboo and the wooden arrows, they snap a lot faster. Though if your wooden arrow is perfectly spined to your bow, I find it to shoot a lot, 100 times more sweeter, more swifter, and a lot more silent compared to a carbon arrow. The only benefit I see in a carbon arrow is obviously the straightness of it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot faster than a wooden arrow. If you're looking for a sweet shooting shaft, I always find that the wooden arrow is the most quietest and is the most sweetest to shoot out of it.
MashaAllah.
The main thing of a longbow has an ability to shoot out heavy arrows. So a carbon arrow seems to be too light for a longbow.
Right.
So as soon as you put a wooden arrow on there and you shoot it, that's amazing.
There's nothing like it. So even if the carbon shaft is very stiff, does that make up for the weight, the heaviness of a wooden shaft or not?
There's a difference from a stiff arrow and a heavy arrow, right? Stiffness is obviously going to be because of the spine of the arrow, and heaviness is going to be the amount of grains are there in specifically on the arrow. Accuracy, but it's not going to give you that weight you require. You're going to have to add in. You're going to have to add in inserts, brass inserts, heavier points to give you that weight you require. Just to give you a small example, my personal stalkers I shoot. I don't have the personal hunting stalkers I shoot.
Yeah.
They give me a weight of 350, 380 to 400, but they wouldn't, but they hunting head on it. And my wooden arrows without the hunting head, it gives me a weight of 520 grains.
Right.
So already that makes an extreme difference in the shafts and so on.
Sure. How about one thing we didn't actually cover, but we can just ask you quickly is hunting. You know, in South Africa, you guys are very fortunate that you can go and hunt. You know, live game in Europe. We can't really do that. So, do people buy your bows for hunting as well, or you can make them heavy enough for hunting?
For hunting, the amount you require is 45 pounds. 45 pounds is an amount that most of the males shoot.
Mm.
My own bow personally is of 3 to LPs, and all the customers, they make sure it is above 45 so they can hunt worth it. I've just shipped out a bow. A person from Cape Town, he ordered a bow specifically only for hunting, and the feedback he has received from it is quite amazing. So the people, yes, they do buy the longbows for hunting, but you have to understand, to hunt with a longbow and to hunt with a hybrid is two extremely different things. The construction of a longbow is for distance. The construction for a hybrid or a recurve is mainly for close distance. So a lot of the people, they prefer a recurve or they prefer a hybrid for hunting. But for those, that's obviously specific because of the length of the bow.
Yeah.
Those who take it on a level even higher, they then order a longbow specifically for hunting because it's a lot more harder because of the size of the bow in specific. So people have hunted both outdoor bows, alhamdulillah. They've hunted warthogs, they've hunted, I don't know, some other sorts of animals.
Yeah.
But now they actually doing a specific video on hunting with one of our bows, alhamdulillah.
Excellent, mashallah, that's very good.
I haven't hunted.
Oh, you haven't? I was about to ask, do you prefer target archery or hunting?
I love hunting. I grew up with fishing and hunting, but I just didn't have the opportunity to hunt as yet. But I have a firm intention this year, inshallah, I'm going to hunt. Inshallah.
Well, I'm going to join you in that intention because I've you know, my family's from Cape Town. My wife is from there, and I have extended family in there. And one of my things on my bucket list is to actually go hunting with the bow and arrow. So inshallah, I would really like to, at some point, inshallah, post-COVID, come to see your place, home of archery in Johannesburg, come and meet you, and we can actually, inshallah, go out for a hunt together, inshallah.
It will be an excellent idea, inshallah.
Excellent, excellent. Huthaifa, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate your time, all your effort. Allah bless you. Allah protect you guys and give you more increase and blessings and barakah in your work. The good work you're doing, may Allah take it further from you, and we make dua for all the kids and the youth that they're staying on the straight path and they can be as straight as their arrows, inshallah.
I mean, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for giving us this interview, and it was really awesome to speak to you also.
Inshallah. Okay, we'll stay in touch until next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.